Hey guys, welcome to the SimRacingPaddock. I'm William Mars, and this is our review on the Renovatio SRD-9C Series 2 Dash. So fun fact, if you guys remember my days back when I worked at Inside Sim Racing, one of the first reviews I ever did was on the Renovatio SRD-9C version 1. Now I have the version 2 in front of me, and I've spent a couple months testing it out, and here are my thoughts on it. So the SRD stands for Sim Racing Display, the 9 stands for the 9 LED display at the front of the unit, and the C is because this is part of their compact series. So if you look at this and compare it to the SRD-9C version 1, you'd be kind of hard pressed to find a difference. It has the same 12 light top display, the same 4 lights at the bottom, the same 9 LED display. Functionally, it's almost identical. So this is more of an incremental upgrade, focusing on refining this unit. It's really focused on making the experience more smooth. Because to be honest, when I reviewed the SRD-9C version 1 back in 2014, it was a bit of a mess, especially on the software side. However, I am really happy to say that the software side on this unit is what is the most refined. This really works better in a lot of different ways, even though it is functionally almost identical. So let's just talk about the hardware real quick. So this unit is available for 120 euros before taxes. It comes out to about 149, 150 euro after tax. And if you're in the US, I would highly recommend purchasing this from Renovatio. So Renovatio is the US distributor for Renovatio, and you get free shipping. And if you were in the US, you get about 20 euro shipping from Italy to the US. So I recommend purchasing through Renovatio. And also this unit is available in a bare bones configuration, which basically does away with the enclosure and makes it into this unit you can use for your own DIY rim or a project like that. On the back of the unit, you have the single micro USB connector to attach to a computer, and then you have a couple mounting holes which can be utilized with the wheel mounting kit. And for myself though, I decided to use the table mount. Nice catch. But you have this magnet on the bottom. You can stick the dash on, and boom, you have the table mount. Note on the bottom, I put a couple Velcro strips, and I have it so I can mount it onto the top of my open sim wheel. So that's a nice touch. It's a good way to mount it if you want it to be as minimally intrusive as possible. So there's that. Now let's talk about the front of the dash. So we have the 12 LED light display. So this is sort of like the tachometer rev lights. Personally, I would have loved to see an RGB configuration so you could have customized the way the rev lights work, but at least this is nice. And then on the middle, you have the 9 LED numeral display. The middle of the display is always the gear indicator. You can customize it to either show N or 0 as neutral, but it'll always show what gear you are in. On the left and right displays, you can customize those. You can have speed, lap time, position, fuel level, or a wide variety of different options available to just fine-tune this display to fit your liking. On the bottom of this display, you have red, blue, green, and yellow display lights. And again, I would have liked these to be RGB so you could fine tune and pick your own color, but these do a good job of showcasing different elements. So you could have the red light show as possibly a low fuel indicator or engine oil pressure. You could have the blue either show like the blue flag or other warnings. So it's nice to have these elements on a dash. So before we go into my driving impressions with the dash, let's talk a little bit about the software. This is the SRD M3 software, which covers all of the different dashes made by Renovatio. and this is how you customize the dash. So as mentioned, the center number is always a gear indicator, but you can customize if neutral is N or if neutral is 0. So there's things like that. The display on the right, that right 4-digit display, you can set to fuel, water pressure, speed, oil pressure, position, cars, laps, etc. And then I liked setting it to fuel level so I could calculate mileage over the course of a race. And then for myself, the left I usually set for the speed. That was my own personal preference, but you'll notice it's all the same info. So yeah. And then the dots on the bottom, those lights, you can set like for the flags, overheating, or issues like that. What's interesting though is I believe they are different for each light. For example, red, you can't have green flag, but for green, you can't have the red flag. So it's interesting seeing how that goes, but it works. But I would have loved to see RGB on this. This would have been innovative for that. But this is fairly intuitive software. With just a click, you can switch between metric and imperial systems. And you can even adjust the way the shift lights work. So there are the F1 styles if you prefer that. You can have the fuel range or even manual. And you can fine-tune the LEDs to show how it looks. So let's show you an example. So for the F1 progressive, we can hit test and it'll show the example of how the RPMs go. And then also interleaved can be interesting, where it staggers the shift lights. So it's fairly intuitive software. You can fine tune it and quickly adjust to what you like. Also, a couple interesting things is that this includes telemetry. It's very basic telemetry. Hold on a second. Yeah, it's very basic telemetry where it'll show the fundamentals. There's no track map or anything that I've found, but it works all right. You're definitely not going to be buying this dash for the telemetry software though. And also note that the telemetry is grayed out unless you have a dash. So you can't just download the software and have free telemetry. Then there's also the V dashboard, which you can have as an overlay, overlaying your titles if you wanted this kind of dash. Note that it does rely on the telemetry. So if the sim doesn't provide the telemetry in that way, then you might be out of luck. Hold on a sec. Okay, there we go. Another thing I want to mention is that this dash works via a plugin system. So you click on the plugin box and you can see all the sims that this works for, which is a wide variety, but you do need to install the plugin for it to work. So for example, if you wanted to drive in Race 07 and you wanted to use this dash, double click and then just check the box. And it normally, I don't have Race 07 installed, so it would need to detect the installation folder, and then you can, if you have it installed elsewhere, you can detect the folder somewhere else. So there's that. But Dirt 4 I have installed, so double click, and boom, the plugin's installed. Or Project Cars 2, double click, plugin installed. It's simple as that. But when you go into the dash, you need to select the title for what you're going to use. So you want to do Project Cars 2, you need to select it. So we'll test this out in Project Cars 2, and I'll talk a little bit about how I like this dash. So when I'm reviewing a dash display, I have two main questions that I want answered. Is the information being communicated effectively to me? And is it being communicated reliably to me? You want to be able to easily understand what you are seeing, and also you want to make sure the information you are seeing is also accurate. So I'm happy to say that this dash answers both questions with a solid yes. The dash is easily able to communicate everything I want to know, and it's done it reliably and has so far never failed on me. There are a few minor quirks that I'm not a big fan of, but all in all, it works really well. All of the elements of the display, the speed, the gears, the fuel level, whatever else, is exactly in tune with what you're seeing in the sim. And also, one thing I recommend, which is a nice touch, is when you cross the start-finish line, the display will show your lap time and your lap delta. I like that, and also if you don't, you can just turn it off. The lights at the bottom are an easy way to be able to tell what's going on around the track if you have it set up right, and could be a good, easy way to tell flags. However, I do want to talk about some of my gripes though, and a lot of it is because this is in a more compact unit. For example, there's no concrete bar for, say, your curse or your push to pass. So what Renovatio's done instead is they have this bar which they've implemented into the green lights in your RPM band. So if you choose to have this curse meter, you sacrifice the green lights on your RPMs and instead are using that as your curse meter. It's also worth mentioning that I'm not exactly a fan of the way the meter works. For the curse meter, you have 25% at the first light, second light's at 50, 75 is the third light, and then at 100 you have the fourth light up. That's good in theory, but when you're below 25%, you have 0 lights on. So in theory, you would think, hey, I'm empty, when you have a quarter of your curse remaining. I wish at least there was an option to customize those lights to get an idea on how to set up your curse meter to your liking, but that's a bit of a nitpick. Also, as mentioned earlier in the review, I wish this unit had RGB lighting. For example, the different varieties in the rev lights are unique, but I feel like they're somewhat out of place because of the way the lights are arranged in colors. Having a multicolored unit and the option to change them around would add a great deal of variety to the end user, and I think would make it a lot more appealing and interesting. All in all though, I really do like this dash. It's solid, but a question comes up. This is a $150 dash unit. When it's all said and done with taxes and everything, this dash is about $160 to $170 US. Is that worth the price? At $100, I'd say no brainer, this is a great deal, get it now. But at about $160, you're getting dangerously close to the SRD R3 display, which I think is a lot better. That one has 16 LEDs, it has a better rev light system, it has better indicators for DRS and low fuel, it has a lot more features for about $50 more. It's an interesting thing. I really enjoy this dash, and if you're looking for a compact solution, it's a great option. But I'd also say you might want to look at the next step up, the R3. But I think either unit you get's a great option, and it's a solid addition to a sim racer's arsenal. So I'd like to hear your thoughts. Have you tried out any of Renovatio's dashes? Or do you have your own personal dash that you like yourself? Let us know in the comments. Also, if you like this video, please hit that like and subscribe button and help keep us on track. For the Sim Racing Paddock, I'm William Marsh, and you have a great rest of your day.